Hey guys, three things before I get started. One, this is up on a Saturday because I didn't put up my video for Trends in YA Week and I felt kind of bad about it. So I wanted to just go ahead and do it and put it up on a Saturday for you guys. Second, I am filming this because I film it in my mailbox standing up and I kind of can't go back to sitting. I just feel really nice standing up. I'm more free to move around and stuff like that. So at least you get like a more aerial view of my shelf, which is nice, I suppose. And three, let's get started because I can't remember number three. Yeah. Okay, so Trends in YA, we covered contemporary dystopian vampires and werewolves. So I gave myself, obviously, because I was the one who gave out the trends, but I gave myself mythology because I absolutely adore mythology and I feel like I really like dystopias at the same time. But I already wrote a post on dystopias, which I'll link in the down bar if you're interested in it, but I did. So I kind of felt like there's nothing really more that I could say than what I said in that post. So I decided to give myself mythology. Just a word before we go ahead and start talking about mythology. I love mythology. I love mythology so much. I love learning about it in history class. I love reading about it, especially. So I'm really happy that mythology has kind of taken off in YA this year. It's kind of going down for 2012 from what I can see in the catalogs going on, circulating around the sphere. But at the same time, I really don't think it's ever going to go away, especially Greek mythology, because I feel like that's the most popular one out of all mythology. Celtic mythology is actually really popular, but we're just going to talk about that a little bit later, alright? Okay, awesome. First, let's give a little bit of a definition as to what mythology is. Mythology is when you, especially mythology in books, is when you use a culture of a civilization that was before you, who does not necessarily share the same beliefs as you do, but they can share the same beliefs as you do. A lot of people don't realize that angel and demon books are actually mythology books as well, because you're using stories from history, religious stories from history, and that's mythology. You're using a religious belief of a civilization and using it integrated into your story. It can be a really, really important plot point, like Fury by Elizabeth Miles or the Percy Jackson books, or it can't be as much, and I'm blanking on the name of the book that I was going to use for it not being as important. I forgot, but yeah, so let's talk about the first type of mythology that people seem to be using a lot in YA, which is Greek mythology. I feel like Greek mythology is the most popular one, maybe just because of the fact that it's most widely learned in the English, not the English classes, in the history classes. But it is the most commonly known. People use a lot of Celtic mythology as well in books, but at the same time, you don't really learn that as much. At least I haven't. And I take a lot of history because I really like history. So it's not really as popularly studied, but that's always the first thing that you learn, Roman and Greek mythology. And since the Romans kind of go with the Greeks, people are using the Greeks more just because the Greeks have more stories. The most popular story being Hades and Persephone's myth. That's the one most commonly used in YA, and I'm going to take a minute to explain to you why I think that is so. I think that is so because first I'm going to go ahead and tell you the story, just paraphrasing it completely, and just in case you don't know the story of Hades and Persephone. So pretty much Persephone was walking down the street one day with her mama. Her mama is Demeter, who is one of the Olympian gods, and she is the goddess of the fields and the wheat and such. So she's walking down the street, and Hades, not down the street, but Hades sees her, and Hades just completely falls in love with her at first sight, and he decides to take her down to the underworld, and she's kind of disoriented, she doesn't know what's going on, so she goes into this garden, and she probably had not read any books, like the Bible or something, because if you're in a strange forest, you don't eat the fruit off the trees, but she ate the fruit off the tree, she ate a pomegranate, actually, and when you eat food from the underworld, you get stuck inside the underworld, you can't come out. So she gets stuck in the underworld, and Hades makes her his wife and the queen of the underworld. And Demeter finds out, and she starts crying, and she's really sad, and she goes, I'm really depressed, I can't go, making the seasons turn. So all of the trees wilt, and that is how we got summer and winter. So she goes to Zeus, and she's like, Zeus, you need to fix this, or I am not going to do any of my duties anymore. Zeus gets annoyed because his sister's being annoying, so he goes down to Hades, and he goes, listen, bro, you're gonna need to share. Pretty much is what he says. And they strike an agreement. For 6 months, Persephone would go up to live with her mom, and then for another 6 months, she'd go down to rule the underworld with Hades, which is how we have spring and summer, and then we have winter and fall. So, the point of why I think that is a really popular myth is the fact that it doesn't really have an ending. After they make the agreement, that whole cycle continues, but no one really talks about what happens after. So I think everybody likes to assume that Persephone really does end up loving Hades, giving time to get to know him and live with him and things like that. So the fact that it doesn't concrete say Persephone hated going down there, it kind of just leaves it open for the discussion of the fact that Persephone and Hades might have had a complicated relationship to start with, but in the end they might have ended up loving each other, and ruling the underworld together, totally happy with each other. So it's just that fact that makes it really, really popular in YA, because all relationships in YA pretty much start really rocky and complicated with a lot of obstacles in front of them, but in the end they set aside their mutual differences and are able to coexist in harmony. So everyone just assumes that that's what Hades and Persephone did. Who knows, maybe they just ended up hating each other forever. I don't know, you don't know. I like to assume that they kind of had a happy ending, since most Greek stories don't exactly have happy endings. But if it's another Greek, it's usually a lot of Greeks up together. If it's not something by Hades and Persephone, like Percy Jackson and the Oh My Goddess books by Tara Lynn Childs, they're usually about demigods who are the children of a god and a human, but still possess the power of the god who was their father or their mother. So the Percy Jackson books are about a camp where half-bloods actually go to train and go on quests in representation of their parents, because their parents are lazy bums because they're gods and they can't afford to be. And then Oh My Goddess is about a girl who moves to Greece and finds out that she is a descendant of, I'm not going to say who, because the basis of the first book is her trying to find out who her goddess is. But yeah, she goes to a school where pretty much the cliques are divided into who your goddess is. So, Hera and Zeus are kind of like, their descendants are kind of at the top, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's what those are about. And then you kind of jump into Celtic mythology, which I actually think is really interesting, and I wish I could learn more about. Books like Lament and Ballad by Maggie Stiefvater, and books like Tiger Tiger by Kirsten Hamilton really touch on Irish and Celtic folklore. And I think it's really, really interesting, especially the whole concept with Fae. They're really into magical creatures. Yeah, they're really, really into magical creatures, and that's pretty much the basis of Celtic lore. Centaurs, fairies, kind of sneaking into your house and stealing your things, brownies, cleaning up your house, things like that, and The Iron Queen by Julia, that was another one. I just really love people incorporating mythology into their books, because I feel like even if it's a background thing, it really just gives your story background noise. Yeah, that's all I really have to tell you guys, and I will see you guys tomorrow, actually, because tomorrow is Monday, and that's my week. So, see you guys. Bye.